Hello. Today I am going to show you a brief overview on how to do a good literature search. My name is Donna Hessen, and I am a public health librarian at the Welch Medical Library at Johns Hopkins University. I have no disclosures, and we're going to start off with the objectives of this webinar. By the end of this presentation, you will be able to explain the basics for database searching and how it can be applied to any database. 2, we're going to use specific search techniques like control vocabulary, keyword searching, Boolean operators. Number 3, I'm going to give a brief description of what PubMed is all about. And number 4, I am going to apply the basic database searching process to PubMed. Here are the steps in conducting a web-based literature search. Number 1, identify your topic and write it down. That is extremely important to do. Number 2, identify appropriate resources. Number 3, create a list of controlled vocabulary terms, synonyms, and related terms. 4, you're going to conduct your search after all these, creating your vocabulary terms and the different concepts, etc. You will be conducting your search. And then when you click send, you're going to then see the results of your search. And then you're going to critically evaluate the results of your search. Selecting sources. Where do you start? Sources do differ. They target different audiences. They're designed for different subject areas. They're indexed with different terms. They include different resources, and they contain different features and tools. As I mentioned at the very top, the number 1 rule is to write things down, and we call this document, document, document. It is extremely important that you do so. And as you start to search, keep track of the terms you have used. When you are developing your search terms, paste them into a Word or Excel document. This way, they will keep you on track with your research and be reproducible and transparent. If you are part of a group that wants to submit a manuscript for publication, there are going to be some publishers out there that are going to request a literature search strategy from that manuscript as an appendix to your manuscript. So what do you document? Well, the name of the project or review. Which databases did you search? Did you search other sources? The date when you searched, which is actually rather important because it helps you to keep an idea of if you have a gap of the time that you searched and there's a gap that you hadn't searched, it gives you a better sense of what you had done and where you can keep going where you had left off. Are there any filters you applied? And I'm talking filters as in language or date range, and also the number of results. Number 2, I'm going to talk now about specific concepts like controlled vocabulary, keyword searching, Boolean operators. Controlled vocabulary is definition. They are official terms used in a number of databases, and they use controlled vocabulary to make their content more discoverable. In PubMed, it is called medical subject headings, or MESH, M-E-S-H. Keep track of the relevant control vocabulary for your topic. Again, write things down, document. There is a value of using keywords, or you can call them synonyms, or you can call them text words, because there are many different ways to express the same concept. And they're very valuable because there may be no controlled vocabulary for your search term. So you have to use keywords and synonyms to go into that database. One of the most important things that keywords do is that it catches new articles that have not been indexed with controlled vocabulary. And an effective and comprehensive search uses a mixture of controlled vocabulary and keywords, or you can call them synonyms or call them text words. And now we are going to call Boolean operators. We're going to pull that in, and that's putting it all together. And Boolean operators, as you can see, are the three different operators: and, or, not. The two that are used the most often are and or. As you can see with and, you're taking two unique, distinct concepts and combining them. For instance, you see social media and medical education. Those are two distinct concepts, and you're asking the database, I only want articles that talk about social media and medical education. And as you can see in the diagram, the item in the center, that red in the center, are the articles that you want, okay? Now, with the operator or, you're going to use that within each concepts. And they're the synonyms, they're the keywords, the text words. And as you can see here, social media actually is a mesh term, or social media, or Twitter, or Facebook, or Instagram. They all mean social media. And the reason we do that is there are going to be times when you are looking for important articles for your research. They may not mention, for instance, there could be articles out there that may not mention the phrase social media. They may just mention Facebook or Twitter. You want to do this because you want to gather as much as you can. And as you can see, both circles are completely red because that's giving them all together. The third one is not. And we do our level best not to use this. And the reason being is that we got to be careful using it. We use it basically to test the search. Did what we get really what we got? And here's a good example. I want AIDS, the disease, but I don't want AIDS. I don't want hearing. I don't want hearing aids. I want AIDS, the disease. But we tell people to really, 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 really do not use that, because you could be knocking something out that could be of importance to your research. So the two that we use the most are and or. Okay, PubMed overview. PubMed, as you can see, this is the main screen for PubMed. It was developed by the National Library of Medicine, and it does have, and it continues to expand, of more than 34 million citations. And each and every day, 7 days a week, citations are added to this database. That's an awful lot, let me tell you. There is free access to Medline. And Medline is the primary component of PubMed, which constitutes around about 29 million citations. Now you'll notice there's 34 million and there's 29 million citations. That 5 million difference, those 5 million citations are the ones that have not been indexed yet to be in Medline. And Medline are those articles that have been indexed by a human indexer and have been assigned medical subject headings, the controlled vocabulary mesh. At the bottom of the main page of PubMed, there are these 4 little columns with some icons. The one on the far right says Explore, and that is where the mesh database is housed. That is the dictionary. They call it a thesaurus. That is where you will click on that to determine whether your term that you're looking for is the official control vocabulary term, or is there a better term that they would prefer you to use? I've given an example here. I click on Mesh Database and I come to the screen that says Mesh. And I type in the search box, tuberculosis vaccines. And then I click search. I did the same thing for immunization programs. Type that into the search box individually and then click search. And then what happens, the next screen pops up. As you can see, there is the tuberculosis vaccine screenshot. And it tells you there's tuberculosis vaccines. And it gives you a definition, which is, I think, is really, really nice to have, because there are times when you may think of one term and they're saying, well, this is how we describe that term. So it's nice to know if you all are on the same page. So for instance, tuberculosis vaccines are vaccines or candidate vaccines used to prevent or treat tuberculosis. As you can see, there are some subheadings. We generally do not use the subheadings unless we specifically want the pharmacology or the genetics. But in most cases, we just use tuberculosis vaccines as the mesh term as the term to use. The next screenshot over is the immunization programs. And again, it's giving you the name and it's in bold print. And it says organized services to administer immunization procedures in the prevention of various diseases, etc. Again, it has some subheadings. But below that, you can see a thing that's called entry terms. And those entry terms are there to help you define other phrases that mean the same. It allows you to find more articles. And I pointed out a couple, like vaccination campaign or vaccination promotion. There's another one called vaccination awareness, depending on what you want to use. Now, in particular, I'd like to point out, when you see these entry terms, feel free to use them. Now, the ones that we do not use are the ones that you see here that says program, comma, immunization, or promotion, comma, vaccine. When you see a term like that that has a comma, we don't use those. And the reason being is the fact that when you want to see that phrase written in a sentence, it's not going to be written in a sentence as program immunization. It's going to be called immunization program. So just ignore the ones that have the comma. And that's only in the entry terms. Okay. So here's some tips and tricks, and let's talk about some concepts. Typically, you should have 2 to 3 concepts for an investigative research question. Think of concepts as important aspects of your specific investigation. What are conditions? Is there a population involved? Are there interventions? Are there geography? Those are things to think about. And when you do this, you're going to use the control vocabulary terms as well as the keyword, synonym, text word phrases. You're going to group the similar terms with or and combine the unique concepts with and. And for the Boolean operators, it is best to capitalize them so the database can be read correctly. To continue some more tips, there's a thing called truncation. And truncation are the symbols that we use in place of letters or words to help broaden our search. In PubMed, the asterisk, that little star, represents any group of characters. You use it at the end of the root of your term. It's got that term, that root has got to have at least a minimum of at least 4 characters. Here's an example. Child with an asterisk. That could be child. It could be children, childhood, childbearing, child rearing, that sort of thing. And that's what that truncation, it's sort of a shorthand. Okay. Finding on-topic results, go ahead and use a thing called field tags. Field tags are the little instructions after the search terms to help the computer along the way. For instance, a square bracket, TI square bracket, and this is all in PubMed, it searches the term or the terms in the title. Only the title, nothing else. When you put in the square bracket TIAB, that means please find these terms in the title and or the abstract of the results. I will say this now, in PubMed, they do not search full text. It cannot do that. It only searches the citations that are in the database. You can narrow your results by saying, I only want English language, or I only want Swedish, whatever language you want. You can also limit it by date range and article type. And you can also do age range and gender if you want to, but please be cautious about that, because if you do that, you might be eliminating an important record or important research article that may be important to your research. For example, if you want to say, I only want adults, but I don't want children, that's perfectly fine. But there are many articles out there and many types of research that may talk about both. And those articles could be just as important as the ones that you just only want adults. So just be careful to use that. And now we're going to apply the basic database searching process to PubMed. And here is an example. Using immunization programs to distribute the tuberculosis vaccine. So what do we want? There are two concepts that we're looking here. Concept one, immunization programs. That is the MESH term. Or I have immunization program with an asterisk, which means I want programs, but I also may want the British spelling of program that has an MME at the end. And I put TIAB. Same thing with immunization program. Notice the immunization with an S. Have to remember the British spelling. And again, with the asterisk. Vaccination program or vaccination campaign or vaccination promotion. As you can see here, these are various ways of saying to help that MESH term to find other articles. And then we do the concept number two, tuberculosis vaccines. It's the MESH term. But I also would like to do, or tuberculosis vaccines. And I put TIAB. And now we're going to run these concepts in PubMed. We're going to copy and paste the first one, which was your immunization. And it makes no difference which one you do first, makes no difference. You copy and paste concept one into the search box and you click search. And then that's put aside. That's put aside for the moment. And then you're going to clear that search box and you're going to copy and paste concept two in the search box and click search. And just below the search box, as you can see there, there's the word advanced. And that's where you're going to add the concepts. So here is the PubMed's advanced search builder. Looks pretty innocuous, but I'm going to show you. Right here, where under our history, there is the word called actions and those three dots. That is extremely important because I'm going to do the first one, which was immunization programs. And I'm going to click on those three dots, as you can see, and this pops up. And it's going to give me options. Do I want to add to the query or delete or create alert? I want to add to the query, and the query is the query box right there. And then I go to the second one. And again, under actions with the three dots, I'm going to click on those. But guess what? You have a couple of more options to choose, but I want to add with and. And once all that is together, as you can see, there's the query box with tuberculosis vaccines and the immunization programs concepts. And they are together. And then we search And when we search, we come up with 531 articles talking about tuberculosis vaccines and immunization programs. As you can see, just below that, tuberculosis vaccines has over 22,000 records just on tuberculosis vaccines. And immunization programs has over 32,000. But when we combine them together, we come up with 531. And I clicked on that 531, and the next screenshot you see is the actual 531. And it starts to show you, and it gives you that list. You can see there's a timeline from 1948 to 2023. You can also, down there where it says free full text, you can click on that as well. And that is how you search PubMed. After this, be sure to view my webinar on free resources for searching research literature to locate articles you identified in PubMed. Thank you.